appreciate Mheshimiwa as he comes back again.
This way. Thank you very much, Elias. I'll be brief. Bwana Bogwa, I can't agree more about manufacturing. There is no known economy that grew on any other route other than manufacturing, or even by leapfrogging manufacturing. So even as we adopt technology to do other things around IT, what manufacturing does is that it creates quality jobs and it brings synergy within the economy, because any manufacturing company has a lot of synergies that happens around it, around the economy. And even the view I gave about South Korea, Samsung, LG, Hyundai, and the rest, they were created as chaebols majorly based on manufacturing, but they were supposed to harness the ecosystem of SMEs. So SMEs became the suppliers of the bigger companies, so that the bigger companies become more efficient in competing globally. So manufacturing, the beauty is that kind of synergy, that you are able to do backward and forward integration to other related economies. FCPA Georgina, I'll answer together with the one you've just asked. On labor intensive, and I see you are leaning more towards agriculture. Agriculture is good, but it only becomes better when it's not fully nature dependent. You know, many times people say, oh, but the US, there are also big farmers there. Or even in Europe, there are big farmers. I agree. But that cannot be our solace. It cannot be our solace, because when you do agriculture that is seasonal, you expose the farmer and the practitioner to, one, vagaries of the weather, but number two, something called market prices. There's no money that is ever made by something called market prices. If you do production of anything that goes into the market and it's homogeneous to all the other products, the margins are always razor thin. And agriculture is dominant with that. There's no difference between maize. Maize is maize. It cooks the same ugali. So it's homogeneous. Rice, for wherever place, it becomes same rice. So that homogeneity diminishes returns. And that's why farming makes sense when it's not seasonal. There you can produce when others are not, but also when you actually do forward integration by adding value to the produce of agriculture. Agriculture is based on something called diminishing returns to scale. We are all farmers here because most of us were brought up in village. Especially, we are not very sophisticated farmers, peasants farmers. So, what happens in our villages? You farm the place that is more fertile. When you farm the place that is more fertile, it is upon that place, time, that you go to the next one. You go to the least fertile place last. Why? Because the least fertile place will require you to water when the other places you are not watering through irrigation or any other means. But because you also use fertilizer. So in agriculture and in primary production, production is always based on diminishing return. The more you scale, the more the cost. So the more the cost, the more the diminishing return. And that's why manufacturing has always grown all the economies we have cited. because they are based on something called increasing return to scale. The more you produce, the more you get. And that also comes to technology. Microsoft, when they are producing whatever they produce, like softwares, or Oracle, the cost of producing the first one is very high. But the cost of producing the millionth one becomes very low because it is diminishing return, it's increasing return to scale or diminishing cost. So that's why agriculture, yes, is good for food security, but I know no one country that grew on dominance on primary production. There is none I know of. And you need to know, even when we see these farms in Europe and the UK and the US, there is a lot of government in that farming. One Swiss cow, one Switzerland cow is subsidized by the government of Switzerland 4 times the GDP per capita of a person, of a human being in Africa. Let me repeat, maybe that doesn't seem very palatable. One Swiss cow is subsidized by the government of Switzerland an equivalent of 4 times the GDP per capita of a person in our continent. So when you see these farms, beautiful ones, there is also a lot of government in them. Subsidies, you know, is a form of spending. When the government spends or gives you subsidy, it's basically spending part of the money that would have come to them or which has already come to them. So we need to differentiate that. We grow agriculture, yes, but it is the same production we do in Kenya. If we are doing 50 million bags of maize, we can produce it with half the labor. That's what I mean. So these other half the labor will go to other industries that have higher productivity. Because if we do 50 million bags using half the labor we use now, we'll actually have doubled the productivity of the farmers that remain. But the other ones who now depart from farming will go to industries where productivity is higher than what it is currently is in farming. And I'm avoiding to say agriculture. I mean farming because what we do mostly is farming, not agriculture. FCPA, Monica, Learners 500, yes, I thank you very much for the compliments. On the concrete actions that needs to be taken, of course, to improve our GDP, from where I see it as a dual person, in the economic sphere and also the policy side. I think it's most of the things I talked about in brief. Today I only touched one sector. I have analyzed most of the sectors in Kenya and what needs to be done. In my free time, that's what I do. Analyze one sector holistically. Like power in Kenya, I believe I know what needs to be done. Maybe it also guide some of the investments we do in the personal basis by seeing the potential that can be created in some sectors. In manufacturing, the same. But holistically is the things I said. But in terms of manufacturing, many economies like Kenya have tried something called import substitution. It was tried even by the former President Moi in terms of vehicles. The reason it never works, it has never worked. Not in Kenya, any other global south countries. It's because if you singularly just focus on import substitution, you are focusing on local domestic market. How many vehicles are bought in Kenya in one day? Ile tunaita ya showroom. How many are bought? So if you now set up a car factory, you are manufacturing local vehicles for domestic demand. The market is too small to make sense. So that is why manufacturing must always be export oriented. So if you singularly just focus on import substitution, the capital accumulation you will use, the imports you'll do by importing the machinery to do that production, will hurt the economy more than the produce you are going to get or the aid. Because capital accumulation, remember, is all imports. So you'll be importing more than you are going to produce. So you'll be harming the economy more than you are making it better. So manufacturing must always be based by outside, not inside, in terms of markets. But I've given a brief, Monica. That's a thing we can talk for half a day, because you'd be talking about every sector. But because of time, allow me to be that brief. Madam Nyaga, again, thank you very much for education. And for the learners who are differently abled, we do our best. You know, CDF is also limited in terms of resources, but we make it our canon that the buildings that we are doing are accessible to everyone. That's one in terms of access. In terms of the other things we do for the able differently learners is that we supply or we support them with bursaries, because what happens in terms of government, not every school handles the differently abled. So they choose per, I think, a zone. You'll get one school, let's say, Billy Primary has that class. You'll realize another one. We have another one which caters for the entire country in Kiharu at a place called Gachagua. When we are giving bursaries, most times we actually give for all the learners in that school. We support them in that manner because that's where our limit is. And when we are giving bursaries, of course, we give more to the abled differently because their needs are more and their costs in terms of being maintained in a school is also higher. Do the children stand a chance? I believe so, 100%. Both the able differently and the rest. Some of the things we are doing, for example, investing in education in Kiharu, for me it's not for now. Kwetu kuna kitu inaitwa unaweka, you know the way you put sweet potato in, unaifunika na ash ambayo ni moto, inaiva pole pole tu na unaficha hapo. Or you plant, or you do you plant a seed. What we are doing in Kiharu now in terms of education, our mind is not now at all. There is also a lot that happens underground. Beyond what we report in terms of fee, our staff has got a team like now, currently, an ongoing program, where we are going to meet all the learners. It is currently happening. We don't broadcast it because we are doing it because we need some, we are doing it for future. So, like now our target is to triple the number of learners who went to university last year. And we are doing it so empirically that I am sure we are going to attain it. 3 times the number that transitioned from our day schools to universities last year. We want to double that this year. But we are not just saying it the way I'm coming here with a microphone and doing pronouncements. There is a lot we are doing hook underground. Attaching learners to mentors, making sure we guide most of them. The ones we see real potential of transitioning, we make sure learner per mentor. Every learner per mentor. So that whatever we are doing, mutashtukia tu siku moja, my engineers wengi, my doctors, wanatoka pahali. And it's again about productivity. What I say is this: we better invest in education, tuulizane kazi inatoka wapi. Other than kazi ipatikane, tuulizane watu wa kufanya wako wapi. So for me, let's keep on investing in education. A farmer who has a degree is better than the one who doesn't have. Their productivity is higher. Their husbandry is better. Their efficiency is more. So that's why, to us, education is so critical. Human capital, technology, R&D, productivity, they are all branches of education. FCPA William Ogala, thank you very much for the compliments. Diaspora and labor. I may have actually a different opinion from the many we all have. Me, I believe in Kenyans working outside Kenya as a remedial measure, not as a long-term goal. Kenya does not invest in our education system to train people to work for other economies. that 60% of our healthcare, qualified healthcare human capital in Kenya is working outside Kenya. Yet, you went to university and the government spent resources to take you there as a job. Like us, we went to university through job. In an ideal situation, all Kenyans working outside should be working in the country. But there are no those opportunities. For me, I only support it as an intervening measure. So this issue of diaspora remittances is a language of global south countries. It is a language of countries like ours, which we have already put ourselves in a corner, and we are reported by central bank, our remittances from the Gulf has gone up, tripled, and now starts as this. Because it's more a monetary policy than a fiscal policy. It's more about balancing inflows and outflows than it is about productivity of that Kenyan and the GDP. That person working as a house help in Gulf is better off working in an industry here in Kenya. So that's how I look at it. So those people, for me, is more, we are more solving a social problem than an economic one. You go, you get a job, but you have lost a resource. Why? Because our economy has no need for that resource. Let me tell you something. Sorry for diverting. When you see the Federal Reserve in the US giving their regular updates where they meet and they raise interest rate or they lower it, you realize one thing. These economies, what they are reporting is what is called employment of resources. Because within the same time they come and say, the economy created this number of jobs. They report in net terms. Those who are lost and those who are gained, so they report the ultimate, the net. So the economy added 150,000 jobs, 80,000 in manufacturing. They give those kind of data. Very important data. Why? We are always talking about employment of resources. When we talk about a company as in full employment, it means what? All hearts and all brains are engaged in productive activities. But the resources is not just about me as a person. It's also resources about technology, resources about capital. Where an economy is so well done that it gives the owner of capital the opportunity to employ all their capital. So full employment in capital side. And because they employ so much of their capital, this capital creates opportunities. And these opportunities create labor employment. So you come, they report, oh, the US economy is in 4% of unemployment, created this number of jobs. It is a combination of deployment of capital, which brings opportunities, and these opportunities adds into production. That can't happen when you are training engineers to go and work in China. It can't happen. And I challenge any economists to come and tell me, even those who are advisors of our government, tell me one country in the world that grew on diaspora remittances. One. Then we can emulate it. There is none. But it's growing, it's balancing our monetary policy, but I don't think about our fiscal policy. When I talk about capital inflow, it's not remittances. I am talking about capital, not consumption transfers. Remittances are consumption transfers to a large extent. Our senior FCPA, Guru Wachira, thank you very much for all the things you highlighted. I agree about sector of the service sector. Service sector across many economies is always large because of the public service. Remember, when you are calculating GDP, what is also offered by government is also part of that. So education system in Kenya is predominantly public. Health sector is predominantly public. So those ones also account for the service industry part of the GDP. That's why it appears outsized at 65%. So it's not just about banking and what private sector does, like hospitality. it is also about services offered by government. And I agree, again, in the same, to increase productivity. You increase productivity, let's take, for example, banking. There is something I wrote, I think, the last quarter of last year. And I was challenging Equity Bank and KCB to merge. To merge and become Equity KCB Group or KCB Equity Group. Why? Banking, insurance, fintech, they are all facilitative sides of the economy. They facilitate. They don't produce. Nothing is produced in the bank. They facilitate. They facilitate the efficiency of the economy. So, when the facilitative side grows so big by offering domestic services, then you wonder, you are growing servicing what? Because the productive side should grow so that the facilitative one should grow. And that is the reason I was saying service industry makes more sense to an economy when it goes to hunt money outside to bring back home. When a local bank exports from Kenya, for me, I get very elated. Because these people are going to DRC to fetch money to pay a shareholder in Tana River, seated there, rearing their cattle. To pay dividend to my uncle in Muranga, pruning their coffee bushes. Mtu wa DRC anafanyia kazi Mkenya ako Kakamega. That's the beauty of having big service industry-based companies that expand beyond our domestic market. And my imperative was merge Equity and KCB, because we are no longer talking about banking in Kenya. We are now talking about scaling. So if these companies, cumulatively, they are making, like this year, they'll make around, combined, they will make a net profit of around 130 to 135 billion shillings. Both KCB and Equity will likely make 70 billion shillings this financial, this for the year ending 31st December. KCB will more likely make 60 billion. So 130 billion. If they can merge, and out of conquering the other markets, they go to southern part of Africa, to western part of Africa, and their combined profit becomes 350 billion. It is Kenya that is benefiting. So that was my imperative. Some of these companies must be made to be big, to conquer. We have ABSA in Kenya. When they report profits, when they are paying you dividend, they also pay dividends to their parent company. Where is it? In South Africa. Nedbank has just bought NCBA, or is in the process. Nedbank is from South Africa. Why? It's big. Their market cap is over 1 trillion shillings. Standard Bank of South Africa is the largest bank in Africa. It is over 20 KCBs combined in terms of market cap. In terms of assets, it is even larger. So what do they do? Standard Bank is what we call in Kenya Stanbic. When Stanbic makes money in profits in Kenya, as they pay you dividend, they also pay their parent dividend. And their parent pays taxes. And therefore, my banking in Stanbic and ABSA is building a road in South Africa. Why can't we make KCB, Equity Group? We combine a big entity like that. It goes to hunt for money in West Africa. It hunts for money even in Europe. When KCB, if the combined entity reports 500 million in profit, we are talking about corporate tax alone of over 150 billion shillings. That's the money to build maybe 20 kilometers of road in every constituency every year. That's how I look at it. Service industry must be also outward driven. Right now you are chatting on Facebook, you are receiving money through PayPal, you are on Instagram pressing an ad. You know, sometimes I wonder, man, sometimes I am trying to sponsor something on Facebook, and Zuckerberg declines. He tells you, oh, our guidelines cannot allow nini nini. Yani, these companies are so big, they are refusing money. You already willing to pay to sponsor an ad. But they say, we are reviewing for 24 hours. Can you imagine that kind of, in quote, arrogance? Because you made it so big, ati clients anakuja kwa office unamwambia hata tuangalie kama tukuadmit kama client. That service industry. That guy you are paying Zuckerberg is paying taxes in the US. So you are here giving examples. Oh, economies of the US is so big. Hey, superpower. But who is making it a superpower? It is you with your phone here. Because you are using an Apple phone. With Facebook as your primary app. Instagram. The other one, Signal. I don't know which one. Telegram. These other ones. So you are here. When you wake up in the morning, you are here literally putting money in the US government basket. That's service industry. We must have companies that go to fetch money to bring home. We scale using the global market. Our banks must never, central banks should force them. You must look for regional and continental and global markets. Chaguvu. Because you need this money. Again, Georgina, I think I answered. There is one that was asked through a question here by CPA Sabuni about tolling of roads and the issue of Mau Summit and what happens. This remains my opinion. In our region, there is no country, other country, that is doing the experiments we are doing of making public infrastructure expensive to use. And as I talk about capital flows, capitals are impersonal. When you have money, 10 billion, and you are a global investor, remember you belong to no country when it comes to money. You belong to profit. The only goal is to maximize your profit. So, suppose we have $1 billion somewhere looking for a place to come or to go. Inatafuta pahali tu ya kwenda ilale hiyo pesa. Pesa, $1 billion, inatafuta tu kanyumba, inatafuta a roof to go there and hide. So, as that money is looking for a roof over its head, it is impersonal. It doesn't care the name of the country. It cares about how much is my return and what is the ease of me doing business there. So you look around in our region, Tanzania, Rwanda, DRC, Uganda, and Ethiopia. You have $1 billion. The first level of ease of doing business, infrastructure, is it there? Yes. How is it? What's the cost of using this infrastructure? That's where decisions starts to be made. What's the cost of electricity in this place? Decisions already start now to solidify. What's the cost of using roads to transport my things? Decisions is already made. So when I talk about roads, it's not about politics. It's about the economy. You have the road we are dueling called Mau Summit is a corridor road. It's going to another country and another and another. So you come and realize only the part of Kenya is being told. As it is now as we talk, is only the part of Kenya. What are we telling investors really? We're just telling investors, look for alternatives. We are a premium economy. A premium economy growing at 4.9%. We are a premium economy. You look for, if you don't want to pay toll, get elsewhere. My friends, we have not reached there as an economy. We need everyone. We need all this capital to flow in. So my take has always been, Mau Summit Road is being used by Kenyans who pay PAYE, who pay VAT, who pay fuel levy. Fuel levy is supposed to build roads. So they are already taxed enough to build an infrastructure called road. And then you make them pay a toll. This is like renting a house. You are paying rent. You're already paying rent. But because the rent is on check-off, mliagree na landlord, kwenye unawak, anakutumia pesa through check-off, unakatwa direct. you know, kuna hiyo kitu inafanya kitu psychologically. Ukikatwa pesa kwa transformer level meaning hata haikufiki, huwa hata huifanyii hesabu, si ndio? So because huifanyii hesabu kama vile unalipa tax, you already paying rent, and then somebody is coming to tell you where you pay rent, you need to pay money for a living levy. That's what you are doing, and you'll be paying it daily. You already paying rent, which is well valued, and you pay promptly, and it's even cut before it reaches you. Unajua ile kukatia stima kwa transformer, ile hata hawadili na mita, yani unakatiwa vile huwezi jirudishia. So usakatiwa mshahara hapo, umelipa fuel levy. By the time you are fueling your vehicle, the money for government reaches, inafikia government before ya yule anakuuzia mafuta. So you are already paying rent, and then at the landlord tells you, you pay rent of 25,000. You'll be paying a living levy of 1,000 per month. Hata inapita rent. That is not sensible. That's what I've been saying. And in an experiment that will not work, because the economy of Kenya cannot isolate itself to our regional economy, because investors will definitely look to the other economies. Look at some of the decisions we make. Kenya grew by 4.9% last year. How much Tanzania, with elections, grew faster than us? With elections. Museveni grew faster than us. Uganda. It grew by around 7%. Tanzania was over 6%. Rwanda, double digit. Last quarter, they grew by double digit. Double digit means over 10%. The economy of Ethiopia will be growing by double digit this year. And we are here saying we are a premium economy, growing at we are last in our region, and we are here touring roads. What mathematics is that? So what I'm saying is, and I'm talking about a government, Kenyans now have learned about the psychology of how this government thinks. You don't need to read an encyclopedia. You can already tell when you see an action what is following. Juzi nikaona expansion ya Rironi. Nikasema it's fine. It's wrong overdue. These people need this road because they pay all the taxes. But there is always a rider. I don't know why it is so difficult for this government to do just something good without something bad behind the carpet. Sijui kwa nini. Why can't you just do a good thing to Kenyans? Build a road. We clap. We move forward. But every time you see a good announcement from this government, and you know that as Kenyans, there is always a rider. We are expanding Rironi, Mau Summit. Tuna clap. After clapping, you are told, lakini kuna kitu kidogo itafanyika. You'll be paying to use. It's like me, I'm finishing areas. It's like me going to Kiharu, call a parents meeting as the MP. I've called a parents meeting. Shairis have been said, tupigie mheshimiwa makofi amefika. And they know CDF, I oversight CDF. So they are waiting for a pronouncement, because they had told me there are sort of two classes in the school. I want you to go with me properly. I go to a school. They want 2 new classes to be built. And they call me as the MP because they know there is CDF. And who is CDF? It is them who pay taxes. So it's their money. After Sairis are said for me, na makofi, na amuka. Habari ya wazazi. How are you learners? Nimekuja na mtu hapa, anaitwa contractor. Nimusimamishe. Atajenga hizo darasa 2. Mnasema ni pesa gapi kila darasa? 700,000 and 50. So we need 1.5 million. 1.5 million. Very, very good. Nimekuja. Huyu contractor atajenga hizi darasa na ataanza kesho. Na kwanza na point your contractor. Wewe unasikia? The expansion of all these other roads. Even if you want to toll whatever you are building, at least spare Kenyans from paying for the roads that were built for free by the previous governments. Those of the other governments had other mechanisms to use our taxes correctly, to use our borrowed monies correctly and optimally. They were able to build free to use public goods. Please, whatever you want to expand, but leave the previous road free as it used to be. Just the expressway from Westlands, you have a choice to use the down one. But you can't say you are building at hii ya gorofa, ati utoro mpaka hii ya chini, ilijengwa hapo bereni. So Mombasa Road ikiexpandiwa, ile ilijengwa na Kibaki, ile ilijengwa na Kenyatta, na Moi, na Kibaki, na Uhuru, hiyo yote hatutalipa. Kama unataka kulipisha, wewe lipisha ile unataka kujenga. Thika Road ikijengwa, kama inawekwa expressway, kama ni ya gorofa ama ni underground, sawa. Lakini ilijengwa na President Mwai Kibaki, msirete hiyo cleverness ya kutaka kutoro hiyo barabara, kwa sababu hiyo hatutalipa. Asante.
Thank you.